shining through the city with a little funky soul. So wanna light it up like dynamite.
Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll hear from Variety's Jem Oswald, who gives us an overview of what to expect this year in music tours. Those charming lads, BTS, that you heard in the cold open to this episode, are coming back in a huge way with a world tour that is set to stretch into 2027. And then, in advance of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday on Monday, I take a look back through Variety's pages to see how Dr. King emerged as a national media figure starting in the late 1950s. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Spotify is raising subscription prices next month. The monthly bill will go up $1 to $2 depending on your plan. Social media star Alex Earle launches a YouTube talk show today. Get Real With Me is a variation of the Get Ready With Me TikTok videos that made her a star. Her first guest is comedian Jake Shane. Get Real With Me is expected to run on a monthly basis. Thankfully, it seems like that massive Verizon outage that emerged on Wednesday is finally fixed. The inability to make calls definitely put a big crimp in Variety's reporting productivity on Wednesday. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Jem Oswald, Variety's maestro of music, gives us a rundown of where K-pop stands as BTS comes back from their IRL Army service, and we talk about some of the other big tours that are shaping up for this year. Jem Oswald, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Cynthia, as always.
It caught my attention earlier this week that BTS, a name that certainly moved a lot of units in recent years and really seemed to be exemplary of not only the K-pop rise, but the true rise of global music. They all had to do their conscription, their draft duty for their country, and that was in 22, 23, 24, and now they are back, and we will have a new album from this outfit on March 20th, and they have also unveiled a truly massive plan for a world tour. They unveiled dates that will go into 2027. What kind of demand do you think BTS is going to find as they relaunch as recording artists and touring artists?
Well, that's almost the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Because in the touring business especially, the word scarcity counts for a lot. If somebody tours every year, especially if somebody is touring stadiums in consecutive years, you tend to saturate the demand. Beyonce's second stadium tour in 2 years did not do anywhere near as well as the first one because it was too soon. Having said that, you can have an artist like Sade who comes out of hiding once every 10 or 12 years or so and sets the world on fire. But BTS is a different animal. They're a pop group, and K-pop is arguably the most high concentrate pop in history in a lot of ways. And the audience is very young. You do not find very many fans of BTS who are older. And has the audience aged with them? They've been gone for so long, they may very well have moved on to something else. They're certainly not lacking for ambition with their plans for this year. Even their parent company, the American division of Hybe, has beefed up its staff in anticipation of this. The tour they announced is one of the biggest in history because it's all stadiums for more than a year. Is the demand going to be there? For this initial run, probably. But none of us have heard the music, so we don't know how strong that is. And we also don't know whether the mania that surrounded them has aged with them.
They are also going through, which, as you well know, can be significant for an artist. They've made a label switch. They're still on Hybe, but Hybe in the US now will be released through Universal Music. Their previous success with Butter and other things came through Sony Music. I would imagine that Universal and Hybe, like there's probably no bigger priority for them than getting BTS back off on a good foot.
Yes, and not for nothing, their two biggest competitors, it's a very male-heavy year, and unusually in recent years, because the two most anticipated artists this year are Harry Styles and Bruno Mars. Bruno has already announced his album, his massive stadium tour. Talk about scarcity. He has not released a solo album in almost 10 years. He, of course, did the Silk Sonic project, which was a way of sort of having it both ways, but he didn't really tour behind it. He did a residency. Harry hasn't officially announced anything yet, but it's coming any minute. He's been teasing it. Everybody knows it's coming. So, not for nothing, Harry is on Sony, Bruno Mars is on Warner, and BTS is on Universal. So, those are probably going to be the big plays for this year for the labels, at least for the first half of the year. Because once the record's out, they work it.
It's really about the tours, the merch. The music has to be good for sure. And when you're at BTS level or Taylor Swift level, you're going to make serious money on your music. But the engines of commerce are those live performances. Let's talk about the K-pop market. So since beat that run of BTS and Blackpink, and of course Lisa now is emerged from Blackpink and is making her mark as an actor as well. But am I right in thinking that the pipeline of new stars and new talent has been thin for the last couple of years?
That is not an inaccurate take. The one that is the exception to that, I would say, is Cat's Eye, who I think are 7 girls who are also on Hybe, which is BTS's label, but they're not really a dyed-in-the-wool K-pop group. Their music is K-pop adjacent, but you wouldn't confuse them with 17 or somebody like that. They're breaking the mold a little bit. So I almost feel like the genre is splintering a bit as well. Now, what has changed K-pop Demon Hunters? It has injected a whole new life into the genre, and it's even taken the genre farther. Golden was the second biggest song of the year, but it feels like it's had the most reach. It was right behind Alex Warren's song Ordinary, and Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga with Die With a Smile were up there as well. But it feels like Golden had more reach. Will that rescue the entire genre? Will that open the door for more new artists? Will it open the door for more cartoon artists? And of course, there's going to be a K-pop Demon Hunter sequel, but it seems unlikely to have the impact that this one has had.
Let's button up here by talking about some of the other big tours, obviously BTS, and you mentioned Harry Styles and Bruno Mars. What other treks do you think are going to be selling tickets in 2026?
Well, two things in completely opposing lanes are Ariana Grande, an artist who certainly understands scarcity and the importance of it, because she's been on an almost single-minded mission for Wicked for it has really taken up the better part of the last 5 years of her career. So she managed to get an excellent album out in there. She recorded it, but she was smart enough to realize that she had a very small window in which to promote that album. She promoted that album for about 3 weeks, a month or so, and she did not tour behind it. She's touring this year, but she says it's going to be her last tour for a while. She was just announced as starring in Sunday in the Park with George, so she's pretty clearly moving into the next chapter of her career. Complete other end of the spectrum, the Rush reunion tour. Nobody saw that coming. People figured Rush was done.
Especially with Neil Peart having left us.
Well, exactly. But this was very intelligently done. The fact that they have a virtuoso female drummer makes it so much, it sidesteps so many of the issues, so much of the baggage that would have come with replacing Neil Peart. I have enormous respect for them as musicians, but the fact that they have a female drummer who played with Jeff Beck, who is Many people think he's the greatest rock guitarist in history. Her credentials are impeccable, and the fans are just over the moon because they would sell out every single tour when they were together, no matter what. And the fans are just in heaven because they thought they'd never see them again.
Anybody else we should watch in terms of, really making an impact with new music or a tour this year?
Zach Bryan is going to be touring this year. He just released a new 25-song album, so he's certainly got plenty of songs to roll out that people won't have heard him perform live before. Bad Bunny is touring all over the world except for the United States for obvious reasons. And it hasn't been announced, but everyone, the word is he's got a new album coming very soon as well. And very interestingly, No Doubt is playing a residency at the Sphere. And they might seem like an unusual choice for that, but the Sphere has already had some kind of unexpected artists like U2 and the Grateful Dead and Fish.
There's no doubt and no question that the Sphere is becoming a really important mile marker for legacy artists, for big artists. It really does seem like it's a feather in the cap to get that residency. Well, no shortage of things to watch and buy tickets to and pay attention to. Jem, as always, really appreciate you taking the time to talk us through this.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Cynthia.
And now we go into the Wayback Machine to pay tribute to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Today, January 15th, would have been Dr. King's 97th birthday. He was assassinated in Memphis on April 4th, 1968, at the age of 39. Last year, I looked back through Variety's archives because I was curious to see how King emerged as a national figure in our pages. King made his first appearance in Variety in the September 4th, 1957 edition in a story about NBC's new Sunday public affairs series, Look Here, hosted by journalist Martin Agronsky. King was a guest. Other interesting tidbits that I found in the archives included the fact that Harry Belafonte was trying to make a movie about Dr. King and the story of the Montgomery bus boycott as early as 1957. He developed it for United Artists, but it never came to fruition. Variety had extensive coverage of the March on Washington in 1963. We focused a lot on how the broadcast networks covered it in the moment. It was definitely recognized in the moment as the landmark civil rights demonstration that it was. In 1967, the great writer Dorothy Parker left her entire estate to Dr. King and the NAACP. Her executor was playwright Lillian Hellman. Parker didn't have much, but what she did have, she gave to the cause of civil rights. In 1968, after his assassination, Hollywood studios held a moment of silence on April 9th to coincide with the start of Dr. King's funeral in Atlanta. The Oscars were scheduled to be held on April 8th of 1968, but the ceremony was delayed by 2 days out of respect for Dr. King's memory. None other than Gregory Peck delivered a tribute to him on the telecast. Peck said, quote, "The lasting memorial that we of the motion picture community can build to Dr. King is to continue making films which celebrate the dignity of man, whatever his race or color or creed." End quote. Reviewing this material nearly 60 years later is utterly heartbreaking in the context of where our country is today. We are in the midst of a great struggle for human rights. In Los Angeles County, in Minneapolis, and other cities, we are witnessing human rights violations on a scale that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. People are brazenly being targeted because of the color of their skin. It is hard not to give in to despair. Dr. King's words still have the power to move us. Let's remember that he never gave up, so much so that he gave his life for the cause. Here are 2 excerpts from his famous Letter from a Birmingham Jail, written in 1963.
I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities, and in some not-too-distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all their scintillating beauty. Yours for the cause of peace and brotherhood, Martin Luther King, Jr.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. We will have Netflix earnings on Tuesday, January 20th. The Sundance Film Festival begins on Thursday, January 22nd. Daily Variety will take Monday off in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday. Before we go, congrats to Pamela Gollum and Cynthia Swartz. The veteran PR executives will receive kudos for their long careers at the 63rd Annual ICG Publicists Guild Awards on March 13th in Beverly Hills. Gollum has been with the Lippin Group since its inception in 1986. Swartz is the founder of Strategy PR and Consulting. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Jem Oswald. Sticks, Nicks, Hick, Pigs. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in on Tuesday for another episode of Daily Variety.